My friend is paralyzed from the neck down. How do I deal with the guilt? Wishing every second that I did more to protect her.
Good evening, and we begin at 5 with anger and sorrow in a downtown Portland courtroom where the man who shot 5 people at a racial justice protest and killed a woman named June Knightley has now been sentenced to life in prison. Benjamin Smith was also forced to face some of the survivors he admitted to firing on last year at Portland's Normandale Park. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. Smith pleaded guilty to 9 counts last month, including second-degree murder. Let's get right to Alma McCarty at Multnomah County Court. Alma, what kind of reaction are you getting to that life sentence tonight?
Well, David, as you can imagine, it was just an incredibly emotional sentencing hearing before the judge handed down that life sentence. Many of the witnesses and survivors got a chance to read their impact statements aloud to him, to the court, to others in the room. And what they said is that they are heartbroken and forever changed by the events of February 19th, 2022 at Normandale Park. That's when the shooter, Benjamin Smith, sought out a group of people, traffic safety volunteers, for a protest that had not even begun, and started shooting. As you said, 1 died, June Knightley, and 4 more were injured. June Knightley died when she was shot at close range in the head. Another person who spoke today virtually was shot in the neck and paralyzed. Here's some of what they had to say this afternoon.
The biggest impact on me has been physically, because I can't move my body. And that alone has impacted me emotionally and has been overwhelming to process.
Our daughter arrived by ambulance to the hospital on February 19th, 2022. She was frightened, vulnerable, in shock, and in critical condition. Above all, we are grateful every day that our daughter is with us.
I found you pathetic and enraging. Yet another man trying to scare women out of a public place because you were threatened by our power and our fearlessness in the face of your threats. You could not steal my strength even when you tried to kill me.
We are long past me caring what he thinks. When asked what the impact has been, the question that I hear is, can you describe your pain? And the answer to that question is no. I cannot. None of us can. What an impossible, preposterous question.
She went on as part of her statement, to play part of the deadly interaction captured on her helmet camera. The survivors pleading with the public to hear and to understand the gravity of that night and the lingering trauma. As for Benjamin Smith, his defense attorney said he, quote, doesn't believe he can express the remorse that he has. And then Benjamin Smith went on to say nothing. That, of course, upset many people who were in the courtroom today. Some of them called him a coward and then immediately left. The judge, again, sentencing Smith to life in prison with the possibility of parole only after 55 years served. We will have more reaction from those survivors on KGW and on KGW.com. For now, live in downtown Portland, Alma McCarty, KGW News.
Thanks, Alma. We appreciate your compassion and your reporting tonight. Portland police have identified the woman killed in a shooting this weekend near Reed College. She was 28-year-old April Newcomb Kripe and a mother of 2. She was found dead late Saturday night in the parking lot near the Wimbledon Square and Gardens apartment complex. The shooter left before police arrived. No arrests have been made. We have an update out of Eastern Oregon this evening on the shooting death of Reserve Police Officer Corporal Joseph Johnson. Now, Johnson with the Nissa Police Department was fatally shot over the weekend while chasing a suspect. Today, dozens of law enforcement vehicles turned out to escort their colleague's body to a funeral home. Mike Benner's following up on this for us in the newsroom tonight. Mike.
Yeah, David, we can tell you that Corporal Johnson was beloved. He, of course, worked with the Nissa Police Department in a reserve role. In fact, it was in that role he was shot and killed. Johnson also worked with the Department of Corrections in Ontario. We understand he was involved in his church as well. So many people are grieving his senseless death. Tuesday in eastern Oregon, a host of law enforcement vehicles escort the body of Corporal Joseph Johnson to a funeral home. This procession comes just days after the reserve officer with the Nissa Police Department was killed in the line of duty.
My condolences, obviously, to the Johnson family and to everyone who was close to Corporal Johnson. I know that their grief can't be satisfied or satiated or explained away in any way.
Malheur County District Attorney David Goldthorpe says Corporal Johnson was on patrol Saturday night when he was dispatched to reports of a man damaging cars with a hammer. As Corporal Johnson arrived on scene, the suspect, later identified as Rene Castro, took off in a car. Detectives say Corporal Johnson chased Castro until he stopped fleeing. At that point, we're told, Castro shot and killed Johnson.
Me, my staff, and my team, and our community is going to take a long time to recover. I don't think it's ever going to be fully recovered.
Law enforcement from across the region spent Saturday night and all of Sunday looking for Castro. And they found him Monday morning, hiding in a home in Ontario, and they took him into custody. Castro appeared in court Tuesday, arraigned on a number of charges, including aggravated murder, murder one, and felon in possession of a firearm.
I can do what I can do. I can charge what the law allows me to charge, and I can seek the consequences that I can seek.
DA Goldthorpe hopes this brings a sense of relief to a community that's mourning the loss of Corporal Johnson, a man who leaves behind an immediate family, but also a work family.
Everyone in any of those family groups, anyone close to him is going to be going through some severe grief at this loss.
And none more so than immediate family. We understand they will not have to shoulder the burden of paying for a memorial service. The Oregon Fallen Badge Foundation is raising money for that. If you'd like to donate, you can find a link on our website, kgw.com. David?
Thank you, Mike. Let's get to a traffic alert this evening along Highway 30, where a serious crash has closed the road there in both directions. This is near milepost 77, about halfway between Clatskanie and Astoria. Authorities say the crash involves a car and a logging truck. All lanes are closed. There is no easy detour through the area, so travelers are urged to find an entirely different route or to expect long delays. A new downtown Portland business has been hit by vandals even before it opened. Someone broke a window at the Shake Shack on West Burnside, though police say it doesn't appear whoever did that went inside. Now, just yesterday, the REI store in the Pearl District announced it is closing, citing in part issues with crime and break-ins. Shake Shack is scheduled to open on Monday. Well, let's talk about magic mushrooms, because the Oregon Health Authority has licensed the state's first 3 facilitators for psilocybin treatment. The state is currently working on getting its program for psilocybin therapy up and running. Voters approved this back in 2020. Now, the measure doesn't fully legalize magic mushrooms, but it does allow their use in a controlled medical setting. Research suggests they might help with depression, addiction recovery, and PTSD. Oregon wildlife officials releasing the state's annual wolf report today. It shows the population increased by 3 last year, from 175 to 178. Now, most of those are in the northeast part of the state, though there are 4 packs living in western Oregon. The report also counted 20 wolf deaths last year, 7 of those killed illegally. Some others were killed by state officials or ranchers due to conflicts with livestock. Let's get to national headlines, with Fox News and Dominion voting systems reaching a $787 million settlement in Dominion's lawsuit against that network. The sudden last-minute agreement came after the jury was seated just before opening statements were set to get underway. Through depositions, discovery, and the trial judge's ruling so far, the case exposed how Fox News hosts promoted false claims that blamed Dominion for former President Trump's loss to President Joe Biden. The judge emphasizing that it was, quote, crystal clear that none of those claims were true. Now, here's how a lawyer for Dominion reacted today.
Today's settlement of $787,500,000 represents vindication and accountability. Lies have consequences.
In a statement, Fox said, quote, we acknowledge the court's rulings finding certain claims about Dominion to be false. Dominion also has lawsuits pending against other conservative news outlets it says promoted election conspiracies. More trouble for Southwest Airlines this evening, though it is nothing like last year's holiday meltdown. So this time, a technology issue. The airline says grounded planes this morning for about 20 minutes. Southwest points to a vendor-supplied firewall that went down and a connection to some operational data that was unexpectedly lost. The FAA lifted its ground stop before 11. More than 1,500 Southwest flights were delayed. Now, in response, Washington Senator Maria Cantwell said in a statement, quote, "This is another demonstration that Southwest Airlines needs to upgrade their systems and stop the negative impacts to individual travelers." Cantwell is the chair for the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation.